Imagine these two scenes, one in which a woman is fully naked and another in which a woman is wearing a dress or a two-piece outfit. Which one is more vulgar? At first, most people would immediately answer the nude scene. For decades, we have been conditioned to believe that nudity automatically equals vulgarity. But is that really true? Because cinema has shown us something very interesting. Take a simple example. A filmmaker shows a nude character just new because sometimes we're naked. And the individual could be alone, vulnerable, maybe experiencing grief, freedom, intimacy, or a moment of self-discovery. A scene where a character is completely nude can sometimes feel artistic, vulnerable, or just beautiful. The scene is focused on the character's emotions. The audience is invited to understand the person. The nudity is just part of the story. It is normalized as just our natural self. The lighting is soft, the camera is still. Now compare that with another scene. A woman is wearing a beautiful outfit, maybe a two-piece costume. Nothing is technically exposed, but the camera constantly cuts between her waist, chest, legs. The choreography is designed around creating a sexual spectacle. The editing removes the person and turns the body into a collection of images. Suddenly, the second scene feels far more vulgar. The difference? The body is not the problem, the gaze is. The scene where someone is dressed can sometimes feel far more objectifying and uncomfortable. So what actually makes something vulgar? Is it the amount of skin, or is it the way the camera looks at the skin? Cinema is a visual language, and just like every language, the same word can have different meanings, depending on how it's used. A close-up can create intimacy. A close-up can also create objectification. A filmmaker is always making choices. Where is the camera placed? What does the lighting highlight? What does the editing focus on? What does the scene want the audiences to feel? Because the camera itself has a point of view. This is where the conversation around Indian movies also becomes interesting. For years, there has been this strange contradiction. A lot of people criticize Western cinema for being vulgar because it shows nudity. But then some of the same audiences celebrate songs where the camera spends an entire sequence focusing on a woman's body. Think about many of the Indian item songs. The actress might be wearing a traditional outfit, a dress, or a two-piece costume. But the filmmaking language is often very different. The lyrics might reduce the woman to an object. The choreography might exist only to create sexual attention. The camera might repeatedly focus on different body parts. The character disappears, only the body remains. And that is where we may perceive something as vulgar. Not because the performer is showing skin, but because the filmmaker stops seeing her as a person. And this is not only an Indian item numbers thing. The Western world has its own examples, both in movies and music videos. This is why judging an entire culture's cinema based on nudity is such a shallow argument. For decades, some people have said, "Look at the West, their movies are vulgar," but this ignores context. A nude scene in a European drama or an American independent film or an art film is not automatically the same as a sexualized scene. The question is not how much skin is visible, the question is, why is the skin visible? And this idea goes beyond India versus the West. Every film industry struggles with this. Hollywood has films that objectify women. Indian cinema has films that objectify women. European cinema has films that can be provocative. Asian cinema has films that can be provocative. No culture owns either morality or vulgarity. Human beings everywhere have found ways to make art beautiful and ways to make it cheap. Even the technical aspects of filmmaking reveal this difference. Lighting matters. A warm, natural light can make a scene feel intimate and human. A highly stylized artificial light, designed only to highlight a body part, creates a completely different feeling. Camera movements matter. A long take showing a character's emotions creates a connection. A camera that constantly scans a body creates distance between the audience and the person. Editing matters. A scene built around expressions and reactions creates empathy. A scene built around isolated body shots creates objectification. Every choice tells the audience, see this person or consume this person. But after discussing all this, there is this one thing I have to admit. India does not need to look towards the West to find vulgarity, because sometimes we create our own masterpieces of absolute chaos. Enter Bhojpuri cinema. Sorry, I have to say this. I just need to bring this up. Now, they can be quite cheap and quite vulgar at a very extreme level, although I must admit I don't know much about the local, Bihari culture, so I don't want to generalize and stereotype, but from what I see, what can I say? Sometimes the lyrics, choreography, and imagination combine to create something so unbelievably over the top. Bhojpuri songs prove that vulgarity can be purely desi. And then there's our legendary wet sari songs. A complete Indian invention, a trend basically, man, and it keeps popping up every now and then. A woman drenched in a sari, man, dancing, her midriff exposed. Close-ups of her belly button and the man enjoying her waist, the rain dripping down her cleavage. I mean, yeah, what do you call that, ladies and gentlemen? What do you call that? I don't know. Maybe that's not vulgar. Maybe it's a celebration of sexuality, right? It's all about interpretation. I don't know. But the point here is that that is not a Western invention, is it? That didn't come from the West. That's not cheap Western influence destroying the youth of India. It's none of that, man. It's purely Indian, right? Just like Bhojpuri cinema. So vulgarity, or what you may perceive as vulgarity, exists everywhere, ladies and gentlemen, and it just is formed in every society on this planet. And then in India, you have all these web series shows in the digital space which literally exist only for the sake of sexual gratification, basically soft porn. I'm talking about Ulu, I'm talking about Prime Play. Many platforms that exist specific to India, which again prove you can't blame it on Western influence. Now, sex comedies. Yes, the West has sex comedies like the American Pie series and more, and yes, India does try to do similar types of sex comedies like Grand Musty series, so yes, at times there might be some influence. But you can't say there is only influence. Now the question is, what is actually wrong with the celebration of sex, which is indeed natural? Maybe that's a topic for a different time, but I feel we humans have somehow created the perception of sexuality being vulgar. Okay, maybe that's a topic for a different time. Point is that in cinema, it really depends on many factors. Vulgarity is when cinema stops seeing a human being and starts seeing only an object. Because sometimes the most revealing scene is not the one where the body is exposed, it is the one where the person disappears. Now, what if the male character in the film is a pervert or a creep? See, it's more complicated than we think, man. Or if it's a scene in a bar where women are dancing provocatively. Well, that happens in reality, right? So is the reflection of reality also vulgarity? Too much to uncover here, folks, but anyways, let's just leave it at that. Vulgarity is not about nudity, basically, or even about sex. It is something else. Well, that's that, folks. Please do subscribe to my channel, like, share, all that jazz. Please do check out my other videos on cinema content. Please do support my channel, folks. And till next time, peace out. Bye.